It's Easter Sunday when I'm filming this and the next few videos, which probably sounds a little awkward or callous to some of you, but in actuality it's really fitting because I don't give a rat's ass about Easter. I don't give a rat's ass about most religious holidays, actually, because I'm really not religious. Despite growing up in a Christian household, I've grown into somebody who doesn't really put much stock in that kind of stuff. If I were to define my belief system in any way, I'd say I'm actually more of an atheist and a humanist than anything else. But that doesn't stop me from having certain nostalgic memories attached to those holidays of yore, and that's kind of what this video is about, because one of my best memories of Easter is the Easter that must have been at some point between when I was 9 and 13, when in my Easter basket I got a Transformers Generation 1 Soundwave, because my family had their sort of way of doing Easter, which was you got all your favorite candy in your basket, but you also got one toy or other sort of pricey item, but not too pricey because this isn't Christmas, as sort of a centerpiece. And that Easter just happened to fall at a time where, even though I had gotten into Transformers through the Unicron trilogy, I was discovering G1 thanks to stuff like the Rhino home releases and pre-content ID to YouTube. Leave a like if you're a real one who remembers Part 1, Part 2, Part 3. And of course, being a kid at the time, I went and started begging my parents for those toys of those versions of those characters, and those toys weren't really available at the time except for the occasional G1 reissue, and that's what my Soundwave was. It wasn't an original, it was the Universe Toys R Us exclusive reissue that actually used the Sound Blaster mold and came with Laserbeak and Ravage instead of Buzzsaw, which I was pretty okay with, honestly, because that meant he could store both of them, and both the tapes I was getting were characters I knew from the cartoon, not some nobody packing guy. And let me tell you something, I was floored when I first saw that thing and treasured it as a centerpiece of my collection for years and years after that, despite not being an original, because to me it was still the toy I wanted. It didn't matter that it didn't actually get made in 1984, but eventually that luster did wear off, and I did get rid of it during a time when rumors were beginning to circulate about a proper Generations version happening, and I was going through a bit of a phase at the time where I thought that I shouldn't own G1 toys because they weren't made for me and I wasn't properly capable of taking care of them, which, shut up past me. Toys are toys. You get them, you enjoy them, no matter who they were meant for, or when they were made, or where you are in life, or how capable you are of properly storing them. They're meant to be played with until they break and then discarded for something new. That's literally the capitalistic model the toy industry operates on. But all that being said, I did eventually get what I was hoping for, because after the initially disappointing looking Siege version happened, which looked like the guy in robot mode but had a sort of disappointing half-assed looking spaceship mode that was just kind of par for the course with the Siege Decepticons, we got the Netflix Walmart exclusive Siege multi-pack of Soundwave, Laserbeak, and Ravage, which was exactly what I wanted. It was an updated version of what I had as a kid, a multi-pack of those three characters with modern articulation and everything. But it was a Walmart exclusive, and it came several months into the pandemic when Hasbro was just starting to have distribution issues, so it meant it was a slim chance of me getting it. Which is why I started checking the Walmart right by where I was working at the time every day after my shift as soon as it started showing up at US retail, and eventually my patience and persistence was rewarded. And yeah, this thing is every bit as good as I could have hoped for. It's basically just the original toy put through a modern action figure filter with all the new sculpting and articulation that entails. I mean, yes, the basic look of the G1 guy is here, but there's a lot of nice little greeblies and whatnot added in to make him more in line with the modern Transformers aesthetic, and they've taken some steps to bring him more in line with the cartoon animation model, like giving him a fake waistline so that you have those proportions, which I'm really thankful for. And I mean, you just saw how good this guy's articulation is compared to the original here, which was one of the most well-articulated toys of G1, but it sure as heck didn't have a waist swivel, it sure as heck didn't have a ball-jointed head or like ankle tilts and that, and it definitely didn't have a hand that was specifically sculpted to do the frickin' ejecting pose. How great is that? He does come with his classic guns, though, and they just perfectly clip on to their designated spots, and I believe can store away in a similar fashion in alt mode, but yeah, they perfectly complete the look of the Decepticon communication guy who is insanely loyal to Megatron, and God, he's just beautiful. There is one oddball accessory, though, in the form of this gun, which is actually supposed to be an add-on piece for the Siege Megatron that you can plug into his back like that and gives him the kind of G1 cartoon back-mounted gun pipe thing, but, like, it's not a thing with Soundwave, and I don't have a Siege Megatron at the moment, so this is just gonna live on his back forever. But of course, that's not all there was in the pack. Laserbeak and Ravage are here, and one of them turned out equally as well. I really love how sharp the sculpting is here and how they brought in the masterpiece trick of having the booster rocket actually incorporated into the transformation. That's super nice. And the fact that there's actually sculpted grooves on Soundwave's arm so that he can perch there is a nice touch, but on my copy at least, it never seems to fit quite right. It'll get down in there, but then it just kind of pops right back out. So I usually go for more of like a balancing thing. And yeah, if I didn't just make it clear, I really don't care for this Ravage toy. To put it very simply, he's too thick. Because when you think of Ravage, you think of like a slender and intimidating feline figure that can go toe-to-toe with the Autobots' human allies, not the before picture from a Weight Watchers commercial. And beyond body shaming, there's just the simple fact that this toy doesn't hold together very well. I don't know if it's my copy or like mold degradation or something, but when I'm messing around with him sometimes, he'll just straight up pop apart, and at this scale, that can be quite infuriating. And for a while, that was it. I was pretty content with just having an updated version of my childhood Soundwave Squad on my shelf and thanking my lucky stars that I was actually able to get it. But after they survived the big I need a new computer toy purge of 2022, I felt like the Decepticon ranks were a little thin, that they needed some extra little minions in there. So I turned back to Siege and saw that the Micromaster line that Laserbeak and Ravage originally came for, though they did get heavy remolding for this release, also gave us the rest of Soundwave's cassettes. So naturally, I went and hunted down the 2-pack of Ratbat and the red humanoid tape guy, who on this channel we're going to refer to as Rumble because that's just what sounds best to me. And honestly, I do really dig Ratbat. He's one that I always wanted but never knew of a way of getting a hold of without overpaying as a kid, and I gotta admit, finally having a physical version of what's essentially a bright purple shock Batarang is pretty nice. I really like how he looks and brings back all kinds of fond memories of my favorite scene from the '86 movie where he debuted alongside Blaster's cassette guys, who hopefully maybe one day I'll talk about if the Legacy line ever finishes them. Rumble's maybe looking a bit more stumpy than I'd like, but I mean, he's got decent articulation for his size, and the implied pile drivers here just give him this vague air of ideas beyond his station, full of himself youngest child, and that really works for Rumble in my opinion. But if this isn't exactly your jam, Studio Series did recently give us a take on the blue guy, who I'm going to call Frenzy, no matter how hilariously insistent the box is that his name is Rumble open bracket blue closed bracket. And yeah, this guy is a definite lot better than the other one, because the proportions are just right. All the extra paint makes him really pop on your shelf. And I mean, he comes with his frickin' backpack booster guns and actual flipping pile drivers on a mainline US retail release. That is huge right there. Excellent use of the budget. I mean, sure, maybe they could have actually compressed, but the fact that they're here at all is amazing, when this is something that fans have been wanting and we've only gotten from Masterpiece and third parties for, what, Transformers is almost 40 years old now? And even if you do prefer the red guy, hey, guess what? Leak listings are a thing, and thanks to them, we know the red guy is coming before the end of this year. So just be patient and keep an eye on your local toy aisles. God, just look at that. Isn't that perfect? Just a little dun 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 dun. Love it. But, of course, that's not all this lot can do. They are, of course, Transformers. So why don't we see how they convert, as Hasbro would have you say these days, for legal reasons, I think. They've never really made it explicit. So yeah, transformations on these guys are pretty interesting. It's really fun to see all the different ways the designers can make different shapes come out of what is ostensibly a rectangle. Like I've been saying with them, Soundwave and Laserbeak are just basically really good updates of the G1 figures. Ratbat is delightfully simple. The Frumbles are really interesting in how they basically do the same thing but have two unique kind of twists on it. And Ravage sucks. Okay, I'll be a little more descriptive than that. The real problem here is that you've got a lot of very small parts with small screws holding them together, bumping up against each other in a transformation that is very precise and is on some really tight joints. So it's always crashing into itself or breaking apart, and it's just generally not fun to do. But hey, this is the best part of the figure, where it's just a rectangle lump of plastic thing that vaguely resembles the G1. So, great, mission accomplished, guys. I love it. And I mean, that's basically all you can say about the cassette modes, because they're just that. They're little rectangles of plastic. It's maybe a little bit disappointing that Frenzy doesn't have any weapon storage, but like, I'm a big boy, I got baggies, I can deal. And I mean, they do fit really nicely and snugly inside Soundwave, even if his stupid waist button thingy won't stay tabbed in for some reason today. So that is your lot for these alt modes. There's not really much to say except they look like the things they're supposed to look like, and that's great, but really not a lot of playability here unless you just really like pretending to listen to music. And that really gets at the problem with Soundwave that's kind of been overarching with him throughout his whole career as a transformer, which is his alt mode is outdated by the standards of modern technology, and because of that we've tried to give him multiple different updated alt modes, some of which have been cool, some of which have been really odd, but for the most part you always want to come back to the original, because that's what makes Soundwave interesting, at least initially, at least to me, even as a child of the 2000s, deep into the era of the compact disc, and looking back now as an adult of the 2020s where we're all about digital media, there's still something incredibly charming that a toy designer years and years ago looked at the idea of playing pretend cassette deck and cassettes and decided to contextualize it in their transforming robot line with the idea of it being one big robot and a lot of small minions for him to command. That's just pure toyetic brilliance right there, and it's a big part of why I think Soundwave still works as a character, despite the jokes that now even the show itself is in on. And even without all that high-minded YouTube toy critic talk, you can't deny that this is just a fantastic update of some stone-cold classic parts of 80s pop culture. And that's a huge part of why I wanted to do this video, because of what it means to me and what I imagine these toys might mean to other people if, you know, Hasbro got them out to more people, which I really hope they do, be it in Legacy or Studio Series. As soon as that Walmart exclusivity window opens up, they need to re-release this guy, because he is absolutely wonderful, and I know of at least one friend of mine who wasn't able to get him and would really like him. So with that, big thanks to Snowcone83 for helping me get Frenzy over the holiday season, and big thanks to all of you for watching. Do the YouTube things, like, comment, subscribe, hit up the Patreon if you want to help fund my plastic addiction, and until next time, this is the Vacuuminator reminding you that you never fail until you stop trying. So let's hope Hasbro hasn't stopped trying to get Soundwave out to the people who really need him.